Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got a pretty full game slate here on a Monday here, Nate, to kick off the work week. 10 games in the NBA. In this one, we're taking on the Washington Wizards. They are at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Take a look at that one. Got another game up and our player props for you as we're bringing you each and every weekday of this regular season. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to TheLines.com. We've got our great written content up there for you guys all season long, and our odds finder tool where you can use that to make sure you're getting the best value on all those bets that you might be putting across U.S. sports books out there this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into this 10-game slate and then talk T-Wolves and Zards.
Yeah, we like this game because I think we actually know who's going to play, and that's not really the case for most of the other ones on the slate. Hawks are -1 at Sixers. Joel Embiid has a chance to play. Hornets +10 at the Celtics. Jason Tatum should return. Cavs +2.5 at Raptors, who might get Siakam back. Magic +10 at Nets. Thunder +6 at Pelicans. Rockets +11 at Nuggets. Bulls are +2 at the Jazz. The Pacers +3 at Lakers. We don't know if AD or LeBron are going to play. And then the other game we break down is Suns -1 at the Kings. No Chris Paul there, but I still do like the Suns. Look, the Wolves right now, it's a pick 'em at some spots or +1. Doesn't really matter. I think you can just take the money line here at about even money for the Wolves. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve in terms of this is a talented team that's expected to compete in the West, and they've obviously come out sputtering, trying to figure out the chemistry with Rudy Gobert and Cat and Anthony Edwards apparently not just coming into the season with the same shape that he was last year, but he started to get hot. I mean, they definitely got on track with 5 straight wins. Then, of course, their last game, you get an absolute beatdown in Golden State, which is red hot again. Josh loves to see that. 47 points in the first quarter. That's exactly the type of whooping a young team will take and then turn around with a renewed focus on the defensive end, right? I mean, you give up that kind of assist rate to the Warriors. You look at their previous game, they give up 60 paint points to Charlotte and lose the rebounding battle by 10. It's like, how are you losing rebounding when you have Rudy Gobert grabbing 17 for you and you have Cat at power forward who should be outsizing anyone, but it's just an effort thing, right? But Washington is not strong down low. I mean, they started pretty good like last season. They've really regressed recently. I mean, their rebounding rate is the 8th worst in the league over their last 5. Right now, their defensive rating has dipped in that last 5 to 114. Offensively, not great either. 33% from the perimeter, which is, where Minnesota struggles. They allow the most 3-pointers per game. Also, Minnesota allows the 10th most fast break points. Washington gets the 2nd fewest. They're giving up a huge assist to field goal ratio, but Washington is not the Golden State Warriors. So Minnesota's advantage is still down low. They're both 7th in paint points scored and allowed. They have Rudy Gobert, of course. They have Cat, who should figure out how to play alongside him sooner rather than later. And you look in their last 6, I mean, even taking those last 2 losses, they have the 5th best defensive rating right now. The biggest issue is turnovers for a young team, 5th highest turnover rate. But again, Washington doesn't force turnovers. They're 29th in turnovers forced on the other end of the floor. Kyle Kuzma's playing through a back injury that apparently has hurt his defense even more. And the team had a 140 defensive rating in their last one out here against Boston, a 3rd straight loss for Washington. That's without MVP candidate Jason Tatum. And the last thing I got to touch on here is the clutch numbers. So, if it's a pick-up spread, we're expecting a close game. Both teams looking to bounce back. And Minnesota, in their last 5 in the clutch, has a 62 defensive rating. Just great stuff when you have Gobert back there, who is a clutch defender. They're +18. And Washington, in their last 5, has a 76 offensive rating, which is putrid. And they're -23 in those games, -8 on the season in the clutch, whereas Minnesota's +3.5. So I see this one being kind of close. Actually lean a little bit to the under just because of the way Washington plays, and it's 227 is a little high. Minnesota's not been lighting it up like last year. But if it's a close game and if it's a defensive game, I'm taking the team that has Rudy Gobert at the back line there to shore things up.
Yes, sir. Yep. And this is, to me, I'm kind of leaning total on both these. I hate betting on or against Washington. By the way, it's like one of the couple teams that I feel like I'm wrong every single time. And it is also in part because it's a team to me that is the definition of fucking coin flip, right? They're like they're 500 at everything. They're 10-10 on the season, right? They don't win more or less necessarily at home. The only sort of trend I can find is they don't score. They don't score. They're not very. They're much more of a defensive team this season than they've been. Their identity is more defensive. Doesn't mean they're a solid defensive team. It just means they're better at defense than they are against it. They are limiting points in the paint more so than anywhere else that they limit points this season. But they can't really score from the paint. They can't do much. And this is a situation where I go under in this one to the point that you made. That's what I feel most confident about when you're talking about Minnesota on the road and then Washington kind of wherever, but also at home. I mean, Minnesota on the road is a pretty good team. Like, they're a better team in my opinion. That net rating is 2.7 versus at home it's -2, as they're not able to play defense at home for some reason. And they play at that pace is impossible to play defense on. I feel like they play at 104.5 pace at home, does Minnesota, versus on the road where they play at 100. Right, so they're just selling out at home with those games going over. And on the road, they play with an 109.5 defensive rating due to the T-Wolves. They figured it out a little bit more there, it seems, playing at 100 pace, right? Like 4 points or 4 possessions per 100 less when they are on the road versus when they play at home. So 227 just seems a little bit too high for me in this type of situation. I mean, for the Wizards, they give up a few more points on the road and play a little bit better defense at home, pretty much score the same amount of points. They are 7-4 straight up at home, are the Zards here, which again makes me a little bit more nervous. The biggest discrepancy for them is the 3-point shooting, which on the road, they shoot way worse to the Wizards. So at home, they are taking a few more threes and making a lot more. They shoot 39% from deep at home on 33.5 attempts versus on the road where they shoot 27% from three to the Wizards. So a little bit better on offense at home from deep. But Minnesota, I mean, they've been playing much better defense to your point over the last 6 or so with that defensive rating, and really limiting what they allow everybody to do down low. Washington, it's not like they score a lot more from anywhere more specifically than other places. They're not like great anywhere on the floor on offense, as we talk about. So for me, it just seems like 227.5 is kind of based on the fact that, everyone thinks of the Timberwolves as this team that just goes, and their pace on the road is faster than a lot of those anywhere in terms of 100.38 or so for the T-Wolves. But 227.5, that 3-6 to the under for the T-Wolves when they're on the road this season, going under that total by about 5 points a game compared to what it's set at. It just feels a little bit more like that's the value here for me. I wouldn't take the Wizards. I would definitely take the T-Wolves before I ever put any money on those Wizards. But even at home, like I said, 5-6 for the Wizards at home against that total as well, going under. So just seems like a ripe opportunity to take a little bit of an inflated total and go under it.
Yeah, I see what you mean about the Wizards. It's like anything you would expect. Rest disadvantage, they're better than with a rest advantage. No rest, they're better than long rest. Like they make no sense from a trends perspective. I will say that their record at home, I think at least a few of those games were circumstantial, like Memphis resting Ja because they have a more important game the next one, like Luka being exhausted on a road trip and not able to carry the Mavs. It's like people don't take the Wizards seriously because they're just meh. It's just like, oh, we got a meh game at this Eastern Conference middling team. But I think Minnesota can't afford to do that. And the fact that they lost at Charlotte, another meh team, should have, and then go ahead and get stomped by Golden State. They should be on their game, is what I'm hoping for, trying to get back to where they were at when they won 5 straight in games they were supposed to handle business in. And I mean, this one with the advantage you have down low, you touched on a little bit. Good defending the paint was Washington until recently, giving up 51 paint points their last 3, and not good scoring in the paint, especially at home. And they're scoring 6 points fewer down low. That's the 5th lowest. 45 per game is the 5th lowest in the league. So I mean, I think there's advantages to press in a lot of places here for Mini. and the fact that they have lost 5 straight to these Wizards. Hopefully, we're getting on the upswing of that trend. They're due. The fact that they have gone over in 5 straight against these Wizards, but this is a different team. This is a Rudy Gobert-led team that we've already seen tend to go under far more often than last year. So, yeah, I think Wolves in a close game, in a lower scoring game, is where we lean on this one.
Yeah, and you can use those clutch numbers that you mentioned for Minnesota, especially as of late, if you do feel like this will be a close one. I don't see a blowout on either side of the ball with the way that Minnesota plays on the road as well. So, but the Wizards are just like purgatory, man. They're just kind of there. It's like, yeah, they're not great, they're not bad. They're not great. Like, they're just kind of there, So anyway, that is all the time we have for you after trashing the Wizards. I apologize to all their fans. We will be coming back to you guys with our game videos and player props as well. So make sure to like and subscribe. Continue to follow along with us. And until we see you next, happy betting.